Okay, trying again. Looks good. So tonight I was thinking about a verse, a Dhammapada verse, I think it is. Arogaya Paramalabha. Freedom from sickness, freedom from illness is the greatest gain. Santuti paramang dhanang. Contentment is the greatest wealth. Visasa paramang nyati. Paramanyati. The familiarity is the greatest relation. Nibbanang paramang sukhang. Nibbana is the highest happiness. I'm thinking about this verse. You can really get a sense of the Buddha saying this, looking out on the community of monks living in the forest, reflecting on all that he'd been through to become a Buddha, and expressing his his perception, his outlook on the world in this way. Arogaya means not having roga. Roga means that which ruchati, that which disturbs you, afflicts you, affliction. It's the greatest gain, the greatest possession. The greatest gain, actually. Labha means gain. Ask anyone who's physically sick, right? Physically ill. Do they want money? No. Fame, glory, mansion, power. All the riches in all the world won't save you from sickness. 4 kinds of sickness in Buddhism. There's sickness that comes from food, sickness that comes from the environment, sickness that comes from karma, and sickness that comes from the mind. So actually it's quite likely that the Buddha wasn't thinking of physical illness when he said this. I mean, I think we can all agree that if you're physically unwell, all the material possessions in the world are not going to compare to the gain of becoming free from that sickness. We spend a lot of money and a lot of effort just to free ourselves from illness. And everything else becomes meaningless because you can't, of course, enjoy any of the pleasures or riches or gains, accomplishments in life if you're physically ill. But I don't think that was exactly what the Buddha was talking about. I mean, it actually isn't the greatest gain, not in the Buddhist sense, because you have to understand sickness of the mind. You have to understand the full range of sickness. A person can be perfectly healthy in the body, but if their mind is ill, the physical health does them no good either. So sickness from food, sickness from the environment, these are physical. Sickness from karma, well, that can be physical, can be mental. But sometimes we're born with diseases, with illnesses, physical illnesses. Some people are born deficient in some way in the body. Some people are born with all kinds of illness. Some people die, some humans die shortly after childbirth because they're so ill. This can be because of karma. I mean, sickness because of food is quite obvious. You eat too much, you eat the wrong kinds of food, this is quite clear. From the environment could be anything from bacteria, viruses, infections, radiation perhaps, chemicals. Now everything's got these terrible chemicals in it, making us all sick. But karma, that one's not so clear. Karma is the Buddhist answer to why we're born certain ways. And in fact, not even karma. Not just karma, right? Because while the environment can have a factor, play a part, karma certainly plays a part, but it's much more complicated than that. Sometimes we perform certain karmas, and as a byproduct, bad or good things happen that are totally things that we like, but we're totally had nothing to do with the karma, right? Like perhaps you did some very bad things, and as a result you have this bad karma in your life, but as a result, like let's say a person who is very poor, and so they have to go and live off in the countryside, and then there's a fire that burns down the city, right? I mean, just the point being that there are circumstances or results that don't always have to do with karma. I'm just trying to say not everything is karma. This person who was very poor because they were maybe very stingy, so you think, oh look, it's a very bad thing. But actually they got quite lucky because it meant that they, meant that they didn't meet with the same fate. Or rich people who, as a result of being rich, someone comes and steals stuff from them. It doesn't have to be past karma. You can do all sorts of good karma to become rich, and then the vicissitudes of life that may have nothing to do with karma just take it all away. It can happen. It's quite complicated is the point. But karma certainly plays a part in this life and from life to life as an extension. But I think we all get a sense that it's the mental illness that the Buddha was really thinking of, or that's most important here. The greatest gain, and it's a gain, you see, because we're all sick in the mind until we become free from that sickness, until we gain that greatest gain. We're becoming free from greed, free from anger, free from arrogance, conceit, free from attachment and addiction, free from views and opinions and beliefs, and free from the things that keep us stressed and suffering in our minds. Like depression is a mental illness, or anxiety. But arrogance and conceit, they are also mental illnesses. Addiction is a mental illness. Anger is a mental illness. So that's the first part of the verse. Freedom from illness. What's the greatest gain? Becoming free from this sickness. Someone was telling me this is like a hospital. We're all like sick patients here. It's quite true. The real problem is all those people out there who should be in the hospital and are running free, contaminating each other, spreading their sickness to each other. Really, right? I mean, it's no exaggeration. There are sick people out there doing sick things and spreading sickness. They really should find a hospital. find a doctor like the Buddha. Santuti paramang dhanang. Imagine the Buddha living off in the forest, content, with no luxuries, no possessions. No, monks aren't even allowed to touch money. The greatest possession is contentment. Looking out at the people, these people content. I mean, how content are you? It might feel quite discontent in the beginning, but how great is it to be able to be here? How powerful is it to not have to go and seek out entertainment or diversion? How great it is that you can come and be at peace. And you can see how challenging it is, right? I mean, we're quite poor in our desires for things. People in society are very poor because they're always wanting. They never have all that they want. And you come here and you realize how poor we are, because we don't have this contentment. And we sit and we're displeased, we're unsatisfied. We want something, anything, right? We're lacking. We don't have all that we want. And so the Buddha looked out on all the arahants sitting around him, and he thought about his own trials and how he had become content. And he said, this is the greatest possession. If you're content, you don't need anything, right? You never want for anything. There's no question that that is the greatest possession. There's no other possession that can make you satisfied like contentment. It's the second part. The third part of the verse, Visasa paramanyati. Now I thought about this one, and it was kind of strange. I think, well, what's so important about that? But then you think about where the Buddha was when he said this. Far, far away from his father and his mother and his family, but surrounded by people like us, meditators, monastics, spiritual beings. Visasa means, sorry, I didn't translate. Visasa means familiarity, but it has a sense of the idea. Visasa relates to if I have certain possessions and I say to you, hey, you're welcome to take anything you want. Don't have to ask me. I don't remember what the word is, if there is a better word than familiarity, but it means this sense of taking each other for granted, or being able to take each other for granted, and taking it for granted. What's mine is yours, what's yours is mine, that kind of thing. So it's like when we talk about Dhamma brothers and sisters, our Dhamma relatives. Nyati Dham, they say in Thai. Tham is Dhamma, Nyati. So Dharma relatives, Dharma family. And so all of you, even here in Second Life, all of you on YouTube, we're part of an extended family. Although some of us are, like any family at different stages of maturity. But we're all family. And the greatest family is this, when we're in harmony, I can depend upon all of you to not steal my things, or break my things, or to hurt me, or to lie to me, or to cheat me. The most wonderful thing, or a wonderful thing about being a Buddhist monk, is that for the most part you're surrounded by good people. I'm always shocked when I find out someone was lying to me, because people don't lie to me that often. Not that I know. But I think generally lie to me a lot less than they do to others. And I can depend upon that. And that's a great, that's the most wonderful. I can't really depend on my family. I don't know if they'll lie to me or not. Point being, we are born into certain families. We're born into a certain family with certain relatives. But those aren't the greatest relatives. The greatest of all relations doesn't have to do with blood. It has to do with familiarity and compatibility. So he was expressing his appreciation of his community. So we take a moment to also appreciate our community here, how great it is to be surrounded by such good people. In the fourth part, we get to the core of the issue, Nibbanang Paramang Sukhang. Nibbana, freedom from suffering, is the highest happiness. Nibbana is a scary thing, I think. I mean, anything strange and unfamiliar is scary. But there's a special dread, I think, associated with Nibbana because it threatens everything we hold dear. Purposefully, right? Nibbana, if you learn anything about it, Nibbana means you let go of everything. Nibbana is no attachments. None of the things you love, none of the things you want. It's none of them. None of the things you love. And so it's actually quite stressful. Nibbana is a very stressful thing for us. Until you realize it, of course. Well, until you start to see that the things that you're holding on to and saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't want to let go of this. You realize that all those things are not worth clinging to. All of those things are impermanent, unsatisfying, uncontrollable, meaningless, purposeless, useless. And you see this. This is what you're starting to see or have started to have come to see. Yes, there's no real meaning or purpose or benefit to these things. Happiness can't be found in arisen phenomena. It can be found in Nibbana, which is true peace. So there's a question asked that I've repeated. Some of you have, I'm sure, heard me say, how can Nibbana be happiness when there is no feeling in Nibbana? And the answer, Sariputta gave an answer and said, it's precisely because there is no feeling that Nibbana is happiness. It's a very difficult truth to understand because we're very much addicted to feeling. Happy feeling is good. Calm feeling is good. Painful feeling is bad. This is how we think. Until we start to see that even happy feeling, calm feeling, they're impermanent, unsatisfying, uncontrollable. Only then we start to let them go. We start to see this isn't real happiness, this is stress. My mind is no more at peace than it was before I got this feeling. I'm no more satisfied than before. If anything, I just want it more. If anything, I'm just attached to it more. And that's when we start to turn and incline and say, maybe there's something better than feeling. Maybe there's something better than arisen phenomena. There's a natural inclination. I mean, there's no brainwashing going on here. You'll see it for yourself. I don't have to tell you. It's irrefutable. And once you realize that, then one comes to Nibbana. And once you've seen it, there's no question. Nibbanang Paramang Sukhang. Nibbana is the highest happiness. So that was what I was thinking about tonight. We'll take that as our Dhamma for tonight. Thank you all for coming out. Have a good night. YouTube chat as toxic as ever. Okay. Let's go to questions. No, it's not loading. Okay, I'm going to say no questions tonight. Thank you all for tuning in.